It's Leon from Sofia, Bulgaria. Good afternoon, or dobar den, as we say here in Bulgaria. It's almost the new decade 2020, and it was a good year here in Bulgaria. Hope it was the same for you. I have some thoughts I wanted to share with you. It's about compartmentalizing your time. And if you live independently, like myself, you, or let me say, if you, it doesn't matter if you live alone or together, you're married or you're a couple. Perhaps then even more so, you need to compartmentalize your time and to carve out some time for yourself. Um, if you're alone, that's easier to do, such as in my case. I basically have all the time for myself. I can say that simultaneously that makes it harder to actually do stuff because you're so comfortable in your own skin that you tend to slack off or just sit back too much and let things pass by. Just relax for a whole Saturday, stay inside, chill out. But you need the extra kick under the butt, to say it like that, to get up and do things, to keep moving and develop yourself as a human being. So, depending on the choices and responsibilities in your life, you have a certain amount of time for yourself, and with the time you can do whatever you want. It's just a small fragment of time for all of us because we all have work, we have to clean the house, we have to do groceries, do the laundry, so then what's left over is you time or me time. Then what are you going to do with this time? As in my experience, I found that I tend to want to do too many things at the same time. So that's start an online course, then kind of get bored with that, start another course, start a sport, and then not quite going a lot of the time. And I found that I need to discipline myself. I really started doing that here in Bulgaria. To discipline myself to focus on three things at the same time. So in the me time, I have, let's say, 3, 4 projects that I can do at the same time. That's already a lot. Maybe two, 1, 2, or 3 is enough for you. And what I do is I absolutely stick to these projects. So this year I started learning Russian because I was going to make a trip to Ukraine in May of this month, May to June. I started learning Russian in, let's say, March. Now it's December, 9 months later, and I haven't given up. I've had a trip to Ukraine in May. It was really cool. You can see videos on my YouTube channel. I did manage to speak some Russian there. Ну, сейчас могу говорить по-русски хорошо, без проблем. I can speak Russian better now, and probably with a whole lot of Bulgarian in between and a lot of mistakes. But I'm advancing, and that's only because I stuck with Russian. I did a chapter every week, which is still quite slow because I could do more, but I didn't. Listened to some podcasts as well, but I stuck with Russian. I didn't give up. In the meantime, I did some Turkish as well, and that was for the trip of my brother. I'm not proceeding with Turkish now, but I might later. Russian is my main priority now, and that's because I don't want to be occupying the limited space in my mind with too many subjects. Although I could probably handle it, I also need time to blow off steam and do absolutely nothing, because that's part of the meantime as well. True relaxation. So it's Russian, and I'll be going to Kiev with my parents next week. They'll be flying there, I'll be flying there as well. We'll be spending the Christmas days there, even though they themselves actually celebrate Christmas in January. We'll be there the next week, so that will be cool. And I can practice some Russian even more. And I'm just happy that I stuck with it and that I didn't give up, because as they say, if today you do what others don't, tomorrow you can do what others can't. And that's a very true thing. It's not a competition with others, but you'll be able to do things that you never thought you could, with just a little persistence, with just one chapter a week, of Russian or Spanish or whatever language you want to learn. Just let's say 1-2 hours a week that you focus on a subject. And if you have enough time, you can take on other projects as well, because I'm also doing Krav Maga. I started with Jiu-Jitsu 2 weeks ago. I did one class, but I found it very technical. I prefer something that's easier to remember and more akin to actual real world situations. So I found that in Krav Maga, which is an Israeli self-defense method from the armed forces of Israel, and it's highly intense and effective, and very real life practice, because you learn to defend yourself from from all kinds of assaults with knives, with sticks, with guns. You learn fist fights. You learn everything. You learn to de-escalate situations. Above all, you learn never to get in a fight, because actually I found that things can go very, very wrong. There's a lot of strong people out there, and you never know whom you have against you. Because I would get, as you can see on my YouTube, 2-3 videos ago, I did some sparring with a guy who weighed less than I do, but he would totally knock me out on the street if we get into a real fight. Absolutely, because it just has a technique. He's trained longer, and that's a good thing to realize. It makes you quite humble, that you never know whom you have against you, so might as well be very careful, even if you're a very big guy. So the Russian and the Krav Maga are two things that I took on, and I promised to myself to pay full attention to them. So I'm not going to half-ass them, as they say. I'm going to fully dedicate myself to these new challenges. And they are challenges, because you can never learn enough in these subjects. You can never learn enough of a martial arts. You might flow over into the next one, take on another one, actually go to matches, get a belt, do some seminars, as I did 2 weeks ago. You never finish. You get to know new people, and the same is with a language. You learn the language, it opens new doors. You can put it on your resume. Who knows what kind of opportunities you have out there? Who knows how interesting it is to employers, or you're on vacation, you can speak with people. You'll use it, absolutely. It's what you do with it that matters. But you cannot do things half. You have to do them fully. And fully doing things doesn't mean that you have to study for 2-3 hours a day. No, not at all. You can study for 1 hour a week if that's the time you have. But then you only do this thing. You put away the phone, or put it on silent. You're not checking the notifications. You're not going into your browser to check the news. You need to have some discipline and actually do this. And when I'm doing this, I think back of Nikola Tesla or Einstein, who were in their little rooms just dedicating themselves and throwing themselves into a task. And these famous men, these wonderful men, would probably have forgotten the passage of time. They would get in a sort of dream state in which they lost all sense of the passing of time, and then 5 hours later they would suddenly realize, hey, it's dinner time. I can imagine what it's like, but nowadays our attention spans have been shortened a lot because we have the phone. Perhaps it's even a certain method of shortening people's attention span, because when people are shorter with the attention span, they are quite easy to manipulate for, let's say, marketing purposes, whatever. It invades you. It invades your personal space. It's from the phone. It's from the Facebook. You get the news. You even get advertisements from things that you discuss in your living room. You would get an advertisement pop up on your browser. Your phone is not supposed to listen to you, but I guess it does in some way or another. I've heard these stories, and I've even had it myself sometimes. So things invade you. Snakes get into your garden. and you must protect this personal space, because if you don't, then other things are going to come in. If you don't fence off your time for yourself, other responsibilities will come in, and that's either very plain distractions, such as the phone, such as the news, which you might as well not read because you're not going to get any better from it, such as the just random YouTube stuff, and you go into the depths of YouTube and you're not getting out. You get into very crazy videos that add nothing to your intelligence whatsoever. You might as well just fence it off and put this time in between brackets and focus it on the one or two or three things that you have planned out. And the good thing is that if you actually have performed these tasks, such as you have completed a chapter of Russian, after that you can check the news, you can check some YouTube, you can just lay around on the couch because you've completed your dedication, and you would feel less guilty than doing it half and then going to check the news, and then you think, oh, next week I'll take up another chapter. No, that's not the way to do it. You need to fence off this time, you need to guard it, be protective of it. And also, another thing is that you need to see it as a part-time job. The third thing that I do is I go to the gym, and that's a part-time job that I have. I don't skip. I mean, I would in some very particular cases. I'm not a gym rat, as they would say. I am going as short as I can and doing as much as I can then to get out. And you wouldn't see me there five times a week, but it is quite intense what I do. And I realize that it's important because you must move, especially if you have an office job. So that's a part-time job that I have. It's non-negotiable. I cannot negotiate on the gym. I must work out. It's a job that I have. It's an obligation that I hold to myself. I'm accountable for this. So I hold myself accountable if I don't do the Russian or the Krav Maga or the gym, because these are not essential things to do. I can just get by without doing any of this and just lay around. But I would get back pain. I would feel without any motivation whatsoever. I would feel bored. I would feel restless because I'm not channeling my energy into different pathways. And that's why you must have something planned out. And if you have problems figuring out what you want to do, that doesn't really matter. Because in the end, what matters is that you feel good and that you feel that you add value to your own life or to other people's lives. I mean, you can work in a soup kitchen, go read stories in an elderly home. I mean, you can channel your energy into many different ways, and all of them are good if you derive value from them. That's all that matters in the end of the day. You might as well benefit others with your dedications, but eventually do something. It doesn't matter what, but do something that you feel good about doing. That's not eating a tub of ice cream because you'll feel good in that very moment. 5 minutes later you'll want to pass out on the couch. That's not something productive. So challenge yourself a little, be a bit better than yesterday, that's all you have to do. And dedicate fully. Don't do things halfway. Choose 1 or 2 or 3 things that you dedicate yourself to. Perhaps for half a year, you'll see how it goes. Or perhaps after 1 class, like me with Jiu-Jitsu, I found that it's not for me. It's very technical, it's on the ground. And actually with Krav Maga you learn that you don't want to end up on the ground at all because it's more dangerous. We do everything standing mostly. That's more what I'm into as well. I want to be able to defend myself in real life situations. I don't want to end up on the ground. So you pick 1 or 2 or 3 things in the 2020s that you want to focus on. And it's boring, perhaps. Perhaps you don't feel like it. But you probably also don't feel like going to work or going to do your job. But if you start seeing these things as non-negotiables, as your part-time jobs, then you don't even have the feeling of not wanting to do it. You just think, well, this is my job. This is what I do. Then, to make it more compelling to yourself, also don't say, I'm trying to learn Russian, or I'm trying to learn Krav Maga. I'm trying to go to the gym, I'm trying to lose weight. Because trying, the word trying makes it weaker in your own mind. There's a certain psychology that says, I'm trying, but I might not succeed, you know? But trying is trying. It has a sort of neutral connotation attached to it. So you don't try, you do. I learn Russian. I speak Russian. I um, I learn Krav Maga. I practice Krav Maga. I'm not trying to learn to defend myself. I learn to defend myself. Um, I go to the gym. Now I don't need to lose weight, but I go to the gym. I focus on my condition. So I'm not trying, I'm doing. And that's what you should do as well. Make yourself a human doing. Do things that you feel good about. Don't just be in a state of passiveness, but actually do things. And you'll see that perhaps you're not in the state of mind to do things at all. Start lightly. Don't start with 3 projects as I'm doing currently. Start with a walk around the block to the park. Go to the store. Make some chicken in a nice recipe. Do something that you think is a good idea because you already know the answers. So when you're not in on this level right now, that's totally fine. Let's say you feel a bit blue, or you're not in the mood at all. You're sad, you're alone. That's fine. Perhaps you're not in the best mood at the moment. Don't worry. You might try to convince yourself to eat that tub of ice cream, to order chicken wings, to get that pizza, but then what you can do is think to yourself, is this the right answer? How do I help myself? Should I do this? And is this the best choice? It's probably not. The best choice is just to cook something for yourself. You'll feel better. And just one step, one step, one step, one step. If you do one step 1 year, you have 365 steps, and you can do a lot in the next year. You can do a lot in the next 10 years. And you can even do a lot before 2019 ends, because you might as well start now. Do something that makes you feel better. If you're alone abroad as I am, you're alone, but you're also not alone, because there's a community online. You have people around you. Go reach out to someone. It doesn't matter, you're not alone in the end. Leave a comment. Reach out to me if you have any questions. And feel good about yourself, because you're worth it. So we'll talk to you in the next video. Take care, and bye bye.